Parnatipata, Ve Romani, Sitkar, Patong Smarti Yami. Utanatana, Ve Romani, Sikar, Patong Smarti Yami. Abramacharya, Ve Romani, Sitkar, Patong Smarti Yami. Musavata, Ve Romani, Sitkar, Patong Smarti Yami. Suram Maria Machopamartathana, Ve Romani, Sitkar, Patong Smarti Yami. Vikalapochana, Ve Romani, Sitkar, Patong Smarti Yami. Nutyakita Vatita, Visu Kotasana, Malakanta, Vilepana, Tarana, Mandana, Vipu Sanotana, Ve Romani, Sitkar, Patong Smarti Yami. Vajasyana, Mahasyana, Ve Romani, Sitkar, Patong Smarti Yami. Athasila, also known as the 8 precepts, are a set of training rules observed by lay Buddhists on special occasions, such as during religious holidays, retreats, or as part of intensive meditation practice. These precepts are a modified version of the 10 precepts, observed by novice monks and nuns, tailored to suit the lifestyle and responsibilities of lay practitioners. Delving deeper into the Athasila involves understanding the significance and practice of each precept. 1. Parnatipata Veramani is the first precept of the 8 precepts Athasila in Buddhism, which translates to abstaining from killing living beings, underscores the Buddhist principle of non-harming ahimsa and compassion towards all living beings. It reflects the recognition of the intrinsic value and sanctity of life, regardless of its form or species. Observing the precept of abstaining from killing requires refraining from intentionally causing harm or taking the life of any sentient being. This includes humans, animals, insects, and even microscopic organisms. The precept extends beyond physical acts of killing to include actions that indirectly contribute to harm or death, such as supporting industries involved in animal exploitation or environmental destruction. Cultivating mindfulness and compassion in daily life to avoid causing harm to living beings may include avoiding the intentional killing of animals for food, sport, or any other purpose, respecting the rights and well-being of all sentient beings, including insects and other small creatures, cultivating empathy and kindness towards animals, and actively promoting their welfare and protection, supporting practices and industries that align with ethical principles of non-harming and environmental sustainability. Observing the precept of abstaining from killing also involves inner transformation, including cultivating awareness of one's actions and their potential impact on other living beings, overcoming harmful tendencies such as anger, aggression, and indifference towards the suffering of others, developing qualities of compassion, loving-kindness, and reverence for life as foundational aspects of spiritual practice. While the precept of abstaining from killing is often associated with physical actions, its principles extend to non-violence in thought, speech, and intention. Practitioners are encouraged to cultivate a mindset of harmlessness and non-aggression in all aspects of life, fostering peace, harmony, and mutual respect in relationships and society. 2. Adhina Dana Ve Romane is the second precept of the 8 precepts Athasila in Buddhism, which translates to abstaining from taking what is not given. The precept of abstaining from stealing emphasizes the principle of honesty, integrity, and respect for the possessions and property of others. It reflects the recognition of the importance of mutual trust, fairness, and ethical conduct in interpersonal relationships and society. Observing the precept of abstaining from stealing requires refraining from taking or appropriating what rightfully belongs to others without their consent. This includes theft or burglary, taking someone else's property without permission or through deceit, robbery, using force or coercion to take possessions from others against their will, fraud or deception, obtaining goods or services through dishonesty, misrepresentation or manipulation, embezzlement, misappropriating funds or property entrusted to one's care for personal gain, plagiarism, or intellectual property theft, using or reproducing someone else's creative work without proper authorization or attribution. Practicing adhinadhanavaramane involves cultivating honesty, respect, and mindfulness in all interactions with the property and possessions of others. This may include respecting the rights and boundaries of others regarding their belongings, both material and intellectual, seeking permission or consent before borrowing or using items belonging to others, avoiding the temptation to take what is not rightfully earned or given, even in situations of perceived need or opportunity, taking responsibility for one's actions, and making amends for any harm caused by past acts of stealing or dishonesty. Observing the precept of abstaining from stealing also involves inner transformation, including cultivating awareness of one's intentions, desires, and motivations in relation to material possessions, overcoming greed, attachment, and the impulse to possess or acquire things at the expense of others, developing qualities of generosity, contentment, and gratitude as antidotes to the mentality of acquisition and accumulation, recognizing the interconnectedness of all beings and the principle of interdependence, which underlies the ethical imperative to respect the rights and property of others. While the precept of abstaining from stealing is primarily concerned with material possessions, its principles extend to other forms of theft and exploitation, including theft of time or energy, taking advantage of others' labor or resources without fair compensation or acknowledgement, theft of opportunity, depriving others of equal access to resources, opportunities, or rights through discrimination, exploitation, or abuse of power, theft of trust or dignity, betraying confidences, violating privacy, or engaging in actions that undermine the well-being or self-respect of others. By observing the precept of abstaining from stealing, practitioners cultivate integrity, respect, and ethical conduct in their interactions with others and the world around them. This commitment to honesty and fairness contributes to the establishment of trust, harmony, and social justice in society, fostering conditions conducive to individual well-being and collective flourishing. 3. Abramacharya Ramane is the third precept of the 8 precepts Athasila in Buddhism, which translates to abstaining from unchastity or sexual misconduct. It emphasizes the importance of ethical conduct, restraint, and responsibility in sexual relationships. It reflects the recognition of the potential for harm, exploitation, and imbalance of power in sexual interactions, and the value of cultivating wholesome and respectful relationships based on mutual consent, trust, and integrity. Practical application: respecting the autonomy, dignity, and boundaries of oneself and others in sexual interactions, honoring commitments and agreements made within intimate relationships, and upholding the principles of fidelity, honesty, and mutual respect, avoiding actions or behaviors that objectify, exploit, or demean oneself or others, based on gender, sexuality, or other characteristics, cultivating awareness of the consequences of one's actions on oneself and others, including emotional harm, relational conflicts, and social injustices. Inner transformation: cultivating mindfulness of one's intentions, desires, and motivations in relation to sexual conduct and relationships, overcoming greed, attachment, and the objectification of oneself and others, in pursuit of sensual gratification, developing qualities of empathy, compassion, and loving kindness as foundations for a healthy, respectful, and mutually fulfilling relationships, cultivating self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and communication skills to navigate challenges and conflicts in intimate relationships with wisdom and integrity. 4. Musavataveramane is the 4th precept of the 8 precepts Athasila in Buddhism, which translates to abstaining from false speech or abstaining from lying. It emphasizes the importance of truthfulness, honesty, and integrity in speech and communication. It reflects the recognition of the potential for harm, deception, and discord that arises from dishonesty, falsehood, and misrepresentation. Observing the precept of abstaining from false speech requires refraining from intentionally speaking falsehoods, deceiving others, or engaging in speech that causes harm or confusion. This includes telling lies, intentionally misrepresenting facts, events, or one's intentions to deceive or manipulate others, deceptive speech, engaging in half-truths, exaggeration, or omission to create false impressions or conceal relevant information, slander or defamation, making false or malicious statements about others that harm their reputation, honor, or well-being, gossip or rumor-mongering, spreading unverified or sensational information about others that may cause harm, discord, or misunderstanding, manipulative or coercive speech, using words or language to manipulate, coerce, or control others against their will or best interests. Practicing Musavata Varamane involves cultivating mindfulness, discernment, and compassion in all aspects of speech and communication. This may include speaking truthfully and honestly, even when it is difficult or uncomfortable, and avoiding the temptation to exaggerate, embellish, or fabricate stories or information, verifying facts and sources before sharing information or making claims, especially in matters that may affect the well-being or reputation of others, refraining from gossip, rumor-mongering, or idle chatter that may harm others or contribute to misunderstanding and discord, using speech to promote understanding, harmony, and reconciliation, rather than division, conflict, or harm, cultivating qualities of humility, empathy, and compassion in communication, and actively listening to others with an open mind and heart. While the precept of abstaining from false speech is primarily concerned with verbal communication, its principles extend to other forms of expression, including written communication, ensuring accuracy, honesty, and clarity in written documents, messages, or publications, and avoiding plagiarism, fabrication, or misrepresentation. Nonverbal communication, being mindful of body language, gestures, and expressions that may convey false impressions or intentions, and aligning nonverbal cues with verbal communication. Digital communication, exercising caution, discernment, and responsibility in online interactions, including social media, email, and messaging platforms, to avoid spreading misinformation, rumors, or harmful content. 5. Surami Raya Machopamar Tathana Veromane is the fifth precept of the 8 precepts Athasila in Buddhism, which translates to abstaining from intoxicants causing heedlessness. It emphasizes the importance of mindfulness, clear-mindedness, and ethical conduct in relation to substances that impair judgment, awareness, and mental clarity. It reflects the recognition of the potential for harm, delusion, and moral recklessness that arises from the misuse or abuse of intoxicating substances. Observing the precept of abstaining from intoxicants causing heedlessness requires refraining from consuming substances that intoxicate the mind and lead to loss of mindfulness, ethical restraint, and self-awareness. This includes alcohol, avoiding the consumption of alcoholic beverages or any other alcoholic products that impair judgment, coordination, and cognitive function. Drugs, abstaining from the use of illicit drugs, recreational substances, or prescription medications used non-medically that alter consciousness or induce states of intoxication. Mind-altering substances, refraining from the use of substances such as marijuana, hallucinogens, or other psychoactive drugs that impair cognitive functioning and distort perception. Addiction-forming substances, avoiding substances that lead to dependency, addiction, or compulsive behavior, such as nicotine, caffeine, or opioids, when used in excess or without mindful moderation. Practicing this precept involves cultivating mindfulness, self-awareness, moderation in relation to substances that may lead to heedlessness. This may include exercising restraint and moderation in the consumption of substances that have the potential to intoxicate or alter consciousness, being mindful of one's motives, intentions, and emotional states when considering the use of intoxicants and refraining from using them as a means of escape, avoidance, or self-medication, cultivating healthy coping strategies, stress management techniques, and supportive relationships as alternatives to the use of intoxicating substances for dealing with life's challenges and difficulties, seeking support, guidance, and treatment if struggling with addiction, dependency, or compulsive behavior related to intoxicants, and actively participating in recovery and rehabilitation programs. Observing the precept of abstaining from intoxicants causing heedlessness also involves inner transformation, including cultivating self-awareness, emotional resilience, and spiritual strength as foundations for making wise and conscious choices regarding the use of intoxicants, overcoming tendencies towards craving, attachment, and escapism that may underlie the misuse or abuse of intoxicating substances, developing qualities of mindfulness, clarity, and equanimity as antidotes to the mental states of delusion, agitation, and heedlessness that may arise in connection with intoxication, cultivating a sense of inner peace, contentment, and well-being that is independent of external substances or stimuli and arises from within through the practice of mindfulness and ethical conduct. While the precept of abstaining from intoxicants causing heedlessness is primarily concerned with substances that alter consciousness, its principles extend to other forms of behavior, consumption, or engagement that may lead to heedlessness, distraction, or moral recklessness, including excessive consumption of entertainment, media, or digital devices that distract the mind and lead to mental agitation or fragmentation, obsessive or compulsive behaviors related to work, shopping, gaming, or social media that consume time, energy, and attention at the expense of mindfulness, well-being, and ethical conduct, engaging in risky or reckless activities such as extreme sports, gambling, or thrill-seeking behavior that endanger oneself or others and arise from a lack of mindful awareness and ethical consideration. 6. Vikala Pochanave Romane is the sixth precept of the 8 precepts Athasila in Buddhism, which translates to abstaining from eating at inappropriate times, or abstaining from untimely eating. It emphasizes the importance of moderation, mindfulness, and self-discipline in relation to food and eating habits. It reflects the recognition of the impact of food consumption on physical health, mental well-being, and spiritual practice. Ethical implications: eating outside of designated meal times, refraining from consuming solid food after noon until the following dawn, in accordance with the tradition of alms-gathering practiced by monastics, snacking or indulging in food between meals, avoiding the habit of eating impulsively or mindlessly outside of designated meal times, and cultivating mindfulness and restraint in relation to food consumption. Overeating or binge eating, avoiding the consumption of excessive quantities of food, or eating to the point of discomfort, lethargy, or physical distress, eating for emotional or sensory gratification, cultivating awareness of the motivations behind eating habits, and refraining from using food as a means of escape, comfort, or distraction from unpleasant emotions or experiences. Practical application: following a regular schedule for meals and refraining from consuming solid food after the designated meal of the day, typically before noon, paying attention to the quality, quantity, and purpose of food consumption, and eating with awareness, gratitude, and moderation. Being mindful of impulses or habits related to eating between meals, and choosing healthier alternatives such as fruits, nuts, or other light snacks if necessary. Tuning into the body's natural cues for a hunger and fullness, and eating in response to genuine physical needs, rather than emotional or habitual triggers. Choosing foods that nourish and sustain the body, mind, and spirit, and avoiding excessive consumption of unhealthy or processed foods that may lead to physical or mental imbalances. Universal application: consumption of sensory stimuli. Being mindful of the impact of excessive consumption of media, entertainment, or sensory distractions on mental clarity, emotional well-being, and spiritual practice. Consumption of material goods. Cultivating awareness of the motivations behind consumption habits, and refraining from excessive acquisition, accumulation, or attachment to material possessions. Consumption of time and energy. Being mindful of how time and energy are spent, and avoiding the habit of engaging in activities that drain or deplete one's resources without bringing genuine satisfaction or fulfillment. Inner transformation. Cultivating mindfulness of one's motivations, cravings, and habits in relation to food and eating, and investigating the underlying causes of unwholesome patterns or behaviors. Overcoming attachments, aversions, or obsessions related to food and eating, and cultivating a balanced and harmonious relationship with nourishment and sustenance. Developing qualities of self-discipline, restraint, and contentment as antidotes to the impulses of craving, desire, and dissatisfaction that may arise in connection with food consumption. Cultivating a sense of gratitude, reverence, and mindfulness in relation to the sources of food and the interconnected web of life that sustains and supports all beings. 7. Nakagita Vardita Visukadasana. Malaganda, Vilapanna, Dharana, Mandana, Vibhusanathana, Way Romane. The seventh precept of the 8 precepts Atthasila in Buddhism. This lengthy precept translates to abstaining from dancing, singing, music, and unseemly shows, from wearing garlands, smartening with scents, and embellishment with unguents. It emphasizes the importance of simplicity, modesty, and renunciation of sensual indulgence in aesthetic and sensory pleasures. It reflects the recognition of the potential distractions, attachments, and ego-driven desires associated with the pursuit of sensory gratification and external adornment. Ethical implications. Dancing, avoiding participation in dances or performances that arouse sensual desires, promote attachment to bodily beauty, or reinforce the illusion of self-importance. Singing and music, refraining from listening to or performing songs, music, or entertainment that evoke sensual desires, emotional attachment, or worldly distractions. Unseemly shows, avoiding attendance at events, shows, or performances that promote sensuality, frivolity, or moral ambiguity, and may lead to unwholesome states of mind. Wearing garlands, refraining from adorning oneself with decorative garlands, or ornaments that serve as symbols of vanity, attachment to external beauty, or worldly status. Smartening with scents, abstaining from using perfumes, fragrances, or scented products to enhance physical attractiveness, allure, or sensory pleasure. Embellishment with unguents, avoiding the use of cosmetics, makeup, or cosmetic enhancements to alter one's appearance or conceal perceived imperfections, and promote self-identity or social status. Practical application. Cultivating a sense of contentment and sufficiency with what one has, rather than seeking fulfillment through external possessions or adornment. Investing time and energy in the cultivation of qualities such as kindness, compassion, wisdom, and inner peace, which serve as genuine sources of beauty and fulfillment. Choosing activities, hobbies, and pastimes that nourish the mind, body, and spirit, and contribute to personal growth, well-being, and spiritual development. Cultivating awareness of one's intentions, motivations, and emotional states. in relation to sensory experiences and practicing restraint and discernment in response to sensual stimuli, recognizing the impermanent and conditioned nature of sensory pleasures and external adornment, and cultivating an attitude of non-attachment and equanimity towards them. Inner transformation, cultivating self-awareness and insight into the nature of desire, attachment, and ego-driven identification with sensory experiences and external appearances, overcoming tendencies towards vanity, pride, and comparison, based on external appearances or worldly achievements, and developing a deeper sense of inner worth and authenticity, cultivating qualities of humility, simplicity, and inner beauty, as expressions of spiritual maturity and wisdom on the path to awakening, recognizing the interconnectedness and interdependence of all beings, beyond superficial appearances or sensory perceptions, and cultivating a sense of compassion, empathy, and interconnectedness with all forms of life. Universal application, being mindful of the impact of entertainment, media, or social activities that promote superficiality, materialism, or sensory gratification, at the expense of inner peace, wisdom, and well-being, cultivating awareness of the motivations behind seeking external validation, approval, or admiration, and recognizing the limitations of worldly success or recognition in fostering genuine happiness or fulfillment, recognizing the impermanent and conditioned nature of physical beauty, youth, and vitality, and cultivating an attitude of acceptance, gratitude, and non-attachment towards the aging process and the changes of the body. 8. Vajrayana, Mahasayana, Vai Ramane, is the eighth and final precept of the 8 precepts Athasila in Buddhism, which translates to abstaining from the use of high and large luxurious couches. It emphasizes the importance of simplicity, humility, and renunciation of excessive comfort and luxury in the pursuit of spiritual practice. It reflects the recognition of the potential distractions, attachments, and entanglements that arise from indulging in opulent and extravagant living conditions. Ethical implications: avoiding the use of large, ornate, or plush couches, beds, or seating arrangements that encourage laziness, indulgence, or attachment to sensual pleasures, refraining from pursuing comfort, luxury, or extravagance in the selection of furniture, furnishings, or living arrangements, and cultivating contentment with simplicity and modesty, avoiding the display of wealth, status, or social distinction through the acquisition or use of extravagant or ostentatious furniture or home decor, recognizing the potential for high and large luxurious couches to symbolize social status, privilege, or hierarchy, and refraining from perpetuating inequalities or divisions within society. Practical application: opting for simple, practical, and comfortable furniture that meets one's basic needs without promoting excessive comfort or luxury, arranging one's living space in a way that supports mindfulness, meditation, and inner reflection, and minimizing distractions or attachments to worldly comforts, recognizing the value of simplicity, modesty, and frugality in fostering a sense of inner peace, contentment, and freedom from craving and attachment, practicing generosity, compassion, and social responsibility by sharing resources, supporting those in need, and contributing to the well-being of others within the community. Inner transformation: cultivating awareness of one's desires, attachments, and aversions in relation to comfort, luxury, and material possessions, and investigating the underlying causes of craving and discontent, overcoming tendencies towards greed, selfishness, and ego-driven desires for a status, recognition, or sensory gratification, and cultivating qualities of humility, generosity, and renunciation, developing a sense of inner contentment, peace, and well-being that is independent of external conditions or material possessions, and arises from within through the cultivation of wisdom and compassion. recognizing the impermanent and conditioned nature of material wealth, social status, and external achievements, and cultivating an attitude of non-attachment, an equanimity towards worldly successes and failures. Universal application. Being mindful of the environmental impact of excessive consumption, waste, and resource depletion associated with the pursuit of comfort, luxury, and material abundance. Recognizing the social inequalities, disparities, and injustices perpetuated by the pursuit of excessive wealth, status, and privilege, and advocating for greater equity, justice, and social responsibility within society, reflecting on the pitfalls of spiritual materialism, where the pursuit of external symbols of spirituality, such as luxurious accommodations or possessions, may obscure genuine spiritual practice and inner transformation. The 8 precepts serve as guidelines for ethical conduct, mindfulness, and spiritual practice for lay Buddhists seeking to deepen their commitment to the path of awakening. By observing these precepts, practitioners cultivate virtues such as compassion, honesty, moderation, and mindfulness, which are essential for progress on the spiritual path. The practice of the Atha-sila fosters a sense of moral discipline, inner tranquility, and spiritual growth, leading to greater peace, happiness, and well-being in both individual lives and society as a whole.